This file is all about Halloween gnomes and lollipop sucker holders. And so the first thing we're going to do is start with our background piece. And I actually glue on the wrong side here because I didn't check to see where the curve was of my paper. And then I realized, oh, I already did that once before, so I actually made the mistake twice. So make sure that you've got the right side facing up, and you can do that by checking the curves of each hat and then gluing on the opposite side. I usually use cardstock with texture, but I think I actually put this cardstock in upside down today because it just has like a really soft orange peel. Anyway, once you've got that hat down, then you'll want to put down her hair and face, and I actually forgot to do that next also. So I do the hat band next, which is okay. You can do this part second, but you'll want to do her hair and her little face piece before you put the second hat band down, like the brim of her hat. And you'll see this is where I'd already messed up putting the brim on once before because I had the wrong direction one. So you'll have to check your edges. There's a curve on the left hand side. It kind of does like a little squiggle, and then the other side is more straight. Her face it's okay. I was able to just tuck it up underneath that brim. So if you forget to do her face next, you can tuck that. And also with her hair, as long as you haven't glued that black piece down too much on the edge. So I ended up doing her nose and then remembering that she had hair. So I have to remove her nose and then put her hair on, but it all works out. Her hair is thin enough you could probably just even loop it underneath her nose if you forget to put it underneath that hat brim, but hopefully you won't forget since I warned you. But if you're like me, you'll think about it and then you'll go ahead and do it wrong anyway. These go together pretty quick and easy considering there's a few little intricate pieces, but as far as like a favor for lollipop holders, they're super cute and simple. So then I stick her nose back on, and then go ahead and piece the candy corn, which I'm getting better at using the tweezers. There, you're gonna have a piece of candy corn on each side of the sucker hole, and then her little hands will go over the top of that. The hardest part about doing these is actually sorting out and then finding like the right direction, like I said, for the hands and the little hat bands. And then when you do his face, you have to have one fang that curls in a little bit more than the other, which we'll talk about in a second when we get to the little gentleman gnome, the little vampire. Okay, so once you have those two pieces of candy corn done, go ahead and glue those down. And then you'll just find placement for her hands wherever you want, like whatever you feel is best. You can either like tuck her thumb kind of behind, or you can have it overlapping on the front. And if your candy corns go a little bit into that hole for the sucker, that's not a big deal either. The sucker kind of doesn't pop out of it too much, which is okay. The only thing I foam dotted was just the nose, just because I figured kids will be playing with this and you don't need a lot of pieces that are going to be falling off. So I want the majority of it to be pretty much glued down. So there's the little witch gnome, and you can see it fits the larger lollipops. Those fit in there really nicely. Or you can do the regular like Tootsie Pops. Either or. Sometimes you have to trim a little bit of the wrapping off just a little to make them fit a little bit better, but either one will fit in there nicely. And then I would just put a little bit of foam dot along the top or glue to kind of seal up the top of it, and then that's your party favor ready to go. So now we'll switch over and work on him. And same thing, it goes together really, really quick and easy. Just make sure you score your lines, or you fold on your score line, sorry. They should already be scored. And then same as with her, you're going to start with the background. So his cape actually goes in the very back. So that's the first thing you're going to put on. And it's pretty easy to just line up with his little outlines there. That one's pretty easy peasy. And then you can either do his beard or his hat next. Doesn't matter because they don't overlap. So I went ahead and did his beard just so I didn't forget anything that might go like get a little ahead of myself and start putting pieces on before his beard. Okay, and then his hat. And again, check to make sure that you have the right side like facing up or down and that your curves on your edges match. Mine did on that one, thank goodness. And then you've got a hat band, and yep, you can see I started to do the wrong side again. With the vampire one though, it's not as big a deal just because there isn't a curve there to match up with. His cape kind of hides that, so you can do it either way. And then I'm going to pop dot his nose also. And then that way I've got a place to start, as a reference, to start gluing his little whiskers down or his little mustache. But I'm going to finish his hat first. And then once you've got all that done, then go ahead and tuck his little whiskers in. You can go like more out to the side or kind of tuck them down so that they kind of aim downward into his beard. You'll see on the bottom piece, those ones I have going out a little bit more. Either way works. And then grab his little fangs, and you'll see that I actually start with the curvy one on the wrong side. And so I have to pull it out and put it into the other side. And I just kind of tucked just barely on the end up underneath his little mustache. And I wanted his mustache down first before I glued his fangs on, just because I needed his little mustache as a reference point. But then I have to pull a tooth, and hopefully it wasn't too painful. And then, yeah, I just kind of wanted the curve to go inward, not outward on his little fangs. So fang 1. And then fang 2. And then you're ready to start putting pumpkins together. They look like there's a lot of pieces and they're complicated, but they're really not that bad. So I'm going to slide him out of the way. And then for the pumpkins, you just do like the little bracket sliver, one on each side of the pumpkin. So you'll have 2, 4, 8 to do total, because you've got 4 pumpkins and each one has 2 of the brackets. So you're gonna, or like parentheses things, little fingernail slivers. And I don't know if most people like pick things up with their tweezers. I can't seem to get my tweezer underneath the paper, so I got to pick it up first with my finger, grab onto it with the tweezers, then glue. But I will say that putting little tiny pieces into place with the tweezers is way, way easier than trying to do it with your fingers or like grab it with a fingernail. So I'm getting a little bit more adept at that. I'm just going to need to find ways to practice a little more. And gluing with your left hand. I didn't realize that I wasn't very adept at gluing with my left hand, but that's getting better too. Keeps my brain active, right? The other thing I will say, and I didn't do it on this, is I have one of those like nail art pickup thingies, and it does work pretty well for those little tiny pieces of paper. So maybe the trick is to pick it up with that, then grab it with the tweezers. I don't know. I feel like there's just too many things to grab in a moment. But I will say picking them up with those tools is way better than trying to pick them up for like 2 minutes when you can't get a hold of it. Okay, so once those pumpkins are done, then just like the candy corn, you glue those on the sides of the little sucker hole on the little gnome. And then, and a little bit of overlap into the hole is fine, but I just kind of tried to squeeze him in there so that there was still enough room to glue his little hands on and make it look like he was still holding the pumpkins. And everything fits on there pretty well. And as far as like following a curve, you don't have to be super precise with this one. It's just kind of, there's only so many places it can go because you're working in a pretty tiny space. So now that you've got those little hands on there, it is all done. And same with him. You can use either type of sucker. And I hope you enjoy these. If you make them, go ahead and visit us in the Facebook group and post pictures of yours. And don't forget to check out the Mega Halloween Bundle if you haven't done that yet, and the files that are in our 13-day Halloween Craft Stash Challenge. Thanks for watching.